Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Knicks versus Clippers today at 1 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. And we hope that the Knicks can extend their winning streak, or they've won one game. See if they can extend that to two and then go to Chicago for 2 games in a row. But we got to focus on the Los Angeles Clippers today. That's going to be one of the toughest matchups that the Knicks have had so far this season. You got Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and then they got a in-depth team, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not going to be easy. But today can be a statement game for the Knicks if they can pull out a win. We'll see what they do. Let's get the fellas over here and start to break this thing down and see what you think about the New York Knicks. But before we get there, I do want to talk about Dennis Smith Jr. going to the G League. Because, guys, I think that's a good move for Dennis Smith Jr. That I think is going to be great for him. He'll have a chance. Maybe he can get there and dominate. And if he does, then there's going to be people that start to look his way once again. Because right now, he's buried on the bench with the Knicks. He's not getting off the bench. You might as well play, right? If you're not going to be on the bench, you might as well play. I'm sure he's getting good coaching, from the Knicks coaching staff. If he's receiving the coaching, meaning himself, he opens up and he's receiving it. I'm sure he's getting good coaching, but Dennis Smith Jr. needs to be playing to show off his skill sets, and to show that he's still athletic. He can still go out there and drop 25 a game in the G League. He wasn't doing that in the NBA, but if he can do that in the G League, I think that'd be good for him. Devon, what do you think, man?
Man, I think it's a good move for him. I think that shows, hopefully, it's, a person maturing. Hopefully, the team around him, his agents and the people talking to him, gave him some good advice. But I think it's an excellent move, man. It shows me that he really want to be in the NBA. He's willing to take a step down to get the reps in, to let people know that I still got game, man. So I'm good. That's happy for him. Like what I'm trying to say, and I think it was a really good move. Why didn't just do that, man? It showed me that his maturation and maturity as a man, and say, listen, I want to be in the NBA. I got a payday coming up next year. I want to be in the league. I got to do whatever I got to do to get there, man. And that was good of him. That's a positive move.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's a real positive move. Show some maturity, his willingness to fight, to say, hey, I got to come up from the bottom and improve myself again. Josh?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the panel. Good morning to NBK family. Good morning to the chat. Absolutely, I totally agree. Not just from a basketball standpoint, but from just taking that piece of humble pie, that slice of humble pie, saying I need to get better. Especially a guy that was drafted top 10 overall. And to see, he's fallen. Basically, he's fallen from that top 10 spot. From everybody saying he was the guy coming up throughout, his entire life, being that number 1 player in high school, top player on his college team, to now saying, okay, I need to take a step back and work on myself. I think it's a phenomenal thing for him to do at this stage in his career. And I think it can only make him get better.
Yeah, I agree. Andy, do you think Dennis Smith Jr., after this stint in the G League, can get back to what he was before he came to the Knicks?
Well, first things first, I think it's a great move for him, but it's also a good move by the Knicks allowing him to go. That also means that they had to ask the coaching staff if you're going to use him or even plan to using him, because, if he had even a glimpse of a promise that he's going to see the court time, he probably wouldn't, they wouldn't probably send him to the G League, right?
True.
So, he might have been at the very end of the bench, basically. And he, proposed a situation. They said, it might help us in the long run. So why not do it, right? So, I think at this point, it was basically his only chance, except waiting for a blowout game, for us or for the opponents. So I think it's a great move for him. And I actually, at this point of his career, he had to do it, no matter if it's going to, be coming back to the Knicks or, like Divine said, working for that next contract, after this season.
Right. right? Because I don't see him coming back to the Knicks. I think that Emmanuel Quickly's taking that spot. What Dennis Smith Jr. was supposed to be for the Knicks, Emmanuel Quickly is doing it.
Yeah,
I don't see him coming back to the Knicks.
Yeah,
Out the gate.
It's basically probably like 2 injuries are needed, right? For him to even get that, dressed up and just warm up with the team. You basically need like 2 injuries, so he might sniff the floor at this point, right?
Right.
It's basically the same thing with Frank, right? If they're not going to get injured and the rotations are set and we're playing at least, good basketball because we're above expectations overachieving, I don't see, Frank getting minutes unless it's not going to be, for the point guard spot. I would expect Frank getting minutes, for example, stealing a couple of minutes from Kevin Knox if he's not going to make those shots. That's a more possible thing for Frank. Right. But, Dennis Smith Jr., I don't think they could slide him, down to a 3. Right. So he could take those minutes, right?
And see, I think
fighting for minutes with Quickly is, it's a no-go for basically no one at this point.
Lost cause. Yeah. Lost cause. And what you just said is the difference between Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank. Dennis Smith Jr. and Quickly are basically, they play differently. They have a different style of the way that they play, but their job is the same. And Quickly's doing what Dennis Smith Jr. is supposed to be doing for the Knicks. For Frank, it's a little bit different, right? For Frank, his job is, like you said, he can play some 3, to play some defense, to knock down the corner 3, those type of things. So you could still see where there can be some room for Frank Ntilikina, especially, with Kevin Knox falling out of the rotation. He's not fully out yet, but he's falling. Right, we'll see if he can have a game to keep his head above water. Down. Right, he needs to have a game to keep his head above water right now. But he's Quickly was swimming. Kevin Knox is drowning. You know what I mean? I don't want to put it like that because I like Kevin Knox. I like Kevin Knox, but let's just be real with it. You know what I mean, Joe? What's your take on it, bro?
What's up? What's happening, guys? Good morning. What's happening to the chat? What's happening to the panel? All's good. I'm happy for DSJ. Look, the kid's one of them. He was one of them prospects that in the AAU system was more do what he wanted, built off his athleticism, and was a scorer. And when he come to the league, he struggled to play that point guard role. He looked good for us at the beginning when he first come over, but I think then injuries and then the loss of his mother or stepmother and stuff played into it. And his mindset or his mindset or mentality or just confidence took a nosedive. Mm-hmm. So I think going over to the G League, it's a smart move for him. I think he knows, look, I need to play to prove myself that I should stay in this league. And he can't do it when he's sitting on the bench for the Knicks. So at least if he goes to Westchester, balls out, he can give himself a chance. And I think the Knicks, look, if he does play well, the Knicks might give him like a cheap 1-year deal to decline that qualifying offer, give him a cheap 1-year deal if he plays well. Because literally do the Trey Burke role. Trey Burke was he was on a decline. He went to the G League and got his career back on track. And now he's a backup with the Mavs and he's playing pretty decent. So, we'll see. But I'm happy for Dennis Smith Jr. I don't think he's a bad kid. I think he was just overconfident. And when he come to the league, his style of play or his IQ wasn't there. So
yeah,
we'll see. And
I agree a little bit. I don't think you could be. I mean, I guess you can be overconfident, and then overconfident starts to borderline on cocky. But listen, if you came into the league and your first season, you were doing what he was doing, then you earn the right to be a little bit overconfident, right? Who knows what happened and where it went from there. Maybe he needed to learn about himself, a little self-discovery. He has talent. I really hope that he can come back and be better than he was before, that this could be a stint, almost like what happened with Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, Tim Hardaway Jr. didn't come back to be a star, and I'm not sure if Dennis Smith Jr. will come back to be a star, but the kid's got uber talent. You know what I'm saying? And if he's willing to put in the work, I think, and, you know, humble himself, which I think he's proven by going to the G League, put in the work, he can come back a better player, stronger player. You know, Evergreen, what do you think, man?
All right, so I'm excited for him. Everybody, I've since denounced my my ownership or my leadership in the DSJ fan club a couple weeks ago. I passed that off. But you know, I'm super excited for the kid. Everybody knows I've always been a big DSJ fan, and you know, I sympathize with everything that he went through after, you know, that season that we got him. You know what I mean? Down to even to this season, I sympathize with everything he's going through. So I'm super excited for the kid. I even hope that he's able to maintain himself as a journeyman with, you know, I know it's supposed to be 15 games, right? 15 games in the bubble.
Yeah, something like that.
I hope that those in the bubble would, you know, at least give him enough to say, hey, I'm ready to continue, and maybe we can find him some minutes. Especially since everybody knows that I don't want EP on this team. I want him to go. So I would love for, you know, whatever we got going on with Elfrid Payton, for that to maintain enough stock for him to get moved, hopefully within the next 15 games. And then, you know, around that same time, DSJ is able to come back reinvigorated and ready to be a point guard. I don't believe that right now he's a point guard. I've changed my stance on that a couple times. You know, I definitely think that he's a combo guard, and he was never really utilized in his offensive skill set. He's kind of like one of those free playing players. Give him the ball and let him do what it is that he does. But you know, that's not conducive to what we got going on with this team. It wasn't even last season with what we had going on with the team. So I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for him to be dropped in with a whole group of new players that he hasn't played with. You know, the only other person that he's played with on, you know, that's in the G League is you know, Jared Harper, and I would go to imagine that he was never playing on the same like practice team with him, because they are slated at the same position. So this is a perfect opportunity for DSJ to be forced into a point guard's role and play as a point guard amongst a bunch of players that he's never played with, you know what I mean, and get into a system, assuming that the same system that the G League team is playing is the same system that, you know, the Knicks are playing, so he can have some level of familiarity there. So I'm super excited for the kid, and I you know, obviously I hope for him the best. I want him to get signed, and I also want Frank to get re-signed and then stay with the team we got. I'm happy.
See, my only thing with that about DSJ, about the point guard role, is it takes years to develop your skills as a point guard. You know what I mean? And, you know, once you turn 21, 22 years old, you know, it's going to take 3 or 4 years to really develop that skill and, you know, have the instinct, have the, you know, be able to look at the floor and see the floor and understand what's happening, what changes you got to make on the fly, the adjustments you need to make, and all those things. I think it takes a little while. I always thought it was the wrong decision to try to convert the guy into a straight up point guard. I thought you needed to just let him use his abilities. Just play with the abilities that he has and let him be Dennis Smith Jr.
Get on the floor.
Exactly. And just let him do that. You know what I'm saying? That's, you know, why try, you know, to me, it was like, why try to convert him to a point guard at this late stage, you know, into a straight up point guard. You know what I mean? You know, just let him be that combo guard that can play some point guard minutes when you need him to. You know, that's what I always thought about him. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I just want to ask you guys, if you can go around in the panel, what is going to be the success of DSJ in the G League? I mean, like points per game or assists per game. What would you consider, you know, being successful season? by DSJ, because we got to remember that Iggy last season was averaging like 27 and 9, and he's not sniffing a minute on the Knicks. So you guys think DSJ is going to even average around those numbers?
I don't even think it's a numbers thing. I honestly, when you go to
I know, just because I saw fans already on Twitter were like, Iggy was averaging 27 and 9 or whatever last season, and he's not sniffing a minute on the court.
No, Iggy was averaging it was 21 points and I think like 6 rebounds. He wasn't averaging 27.
Okay, then I saw it on Twitter like 27, and I'm like, damn.
No, he wasn't averaging. He was averaging 21. Still good numbers. But see, my thing with DSJ is I don't think he can ever be a facilitating point guard. So to me, it's the scoring, because I want to see him. He needs to learn how to shoot to be a combo guard so he can play off ball. I don't think he has the ability to play on ball. So I think shooting is a big thing. If he can get into like an average NBA shooter, he could have a role on an NBA team or in the league. But
his shooting can open up the passing. Like his ability to play make is going to come off his ability to be able to shoot the basketball and score.
Right. Because DSJ's skill set that we saw with that, that 15-5 season, those 5 assists were all like bailout assists. They were nowhere near to be looked at as a facilitating assist. Like, I'm looking for a backdoor screen, or I'm looking for a cut, or I'm waiting on a pick to come so I can throw a lob. Like, they weren't point guard assists. They were I'm in trouble assists, which happened more often than not. So I think DSJ's success is going to come into the coach's decision to say, this play is made for you to score, or this play is made for you to spot up and shoot, which obviously the later is not in his skill set right now, unless magically we can see what, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf did with him over the season, over the off season. So I think, I'm a firm believer in allowing a player to play to his strengths, and then working on what he's bad at in the off season, but still allowing him to play to his strengths, and then eventually allowing to see what he's improved on gradually show on the court later on. So if I was the G League coach, here you go, DSJ, do what you want, right? Do what you want. And that the purpose of what the Knicks are supposed to be using the G League for anyway, to allow these players to grow. So here's the ball, DSJ. We already seen what Iggy can do. He pretty much commanded the ball and did a lot with it. Here you go, DSJ, go score. Show the head coaches that you can score, so that when they decide to bring you back, if they decide to bring you back, they know exactly where they can utilize you at. They can say, okay, he still has the ability that we've seen in his rookie season and in his sophomore season when he was traded. Let's see if we can incorporate that into the Knicks lineup per se. Yeah. If anything, I look at it like DSJ should be what Austin Rivers is doing, with the exception of the high caliber shooting. That should turn into, making plays to drive to the basket. But what I would like for DSJ to be is what Austin Rivers is, but a little, obviously not as high on a shooting clip.
Right. So, well, we'll see. I'm hoping him luck in that bubble, and then we'll see what happens when he comes back. But for today, we play the Los Angeles Clippers, and it's going to be, probably the toughest matchup that the Knicks have had to play thus far this season. Right now, I think the toughest team we've played is the Utah Jazz, and we've gone one-on-one against them. Obviously, it was early in the season, the first time that we played them. This time, it's, we're playing a Clippers team that is in the midst of playing very, very well. They're 15-5 on the season. They are in, I believe, second or third place in the Western Conference. And being in second and third place, that means they're bunched up with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Utah Jazz. They've won their last 2. They're 9-1 in the last 10 games. And I think this is going to be a very tough matchup for the Knicks, but can be a statement game, right? When you look at the numbers behind this game, the Clippers are one of the top defensive teams in the league. They're one of the top offensive teams in the league, which makes it, to me, can be scary for the Knicks. You know what I mean? The Clippers are averaging 114 points per game. The Knicks are averaging 101.6. The Knicks, normally, they keep teams down, a lot of times they keep teams down to about 10 points below their season's average, right? They may do that with the Clippers. They may still keep them, keep their point total down. But then can the Knicks score? They got to score 100 and whatever points. If they can keep the Clippers down to 104, then the Knicks got to be somewhere around 104, 105 to compete with them. Normally, I would say we could probably get there. We have before, but the Clippers also play very good defense. So that means that they may keep us down below our scoring average a few points, right? And that's what scares me about this game with the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers average 40.
Is Kawhi and Paul George playing?
Yeah, they're both playing. The Clippers average 47 points per game. The Knicks average 47 rebounds per game. The Clippers average 44 rebounds per game. The Knicks are about 21 assists, while the Clippers are 24.7. The Knicks average 6.8 steals. The Clippers 7.8 steals. 5 blocks for the Knicks, just about 5 blocks for the Clippers. They're both around 13 turnovers per game. The Knicks shoot 44% from the field, while the Clippers are 47%. The Clippers shoot 41% from the three-point line, tops in the league. The Knicks cannot afford to leave some of those guys wide open. They've done that a lot this year, where you've seen power forwards and the point guard and the power forward combo do a screen and pop, a pick and pop. And while Julius Randle is helping out on the point guard, that power forward is wide open at the top of the key for 3, right? We're going to need the weak side guard to step over and help out a little bit until Julius Randle recovers. We need to really kill that rotation, hit that rotation very good, or play a little bit of zone, which I've been advocating for from Tom Thibodeau. I wish that I was in some of those post-game interviews, because I'd ask him, would you ever consider playing zone? I've had yet to hear anyone ask him that. The only thing they ask him is, when is Emmanuel quickly going to start? Right? They ask him that every single post game, just about. The Knicks shoot 35% from the three-point line. The Clippers are 85% from the free throw line, and the Knicks 75.9%. The Knicks right now, it looks like they could, I don't want to say dominate in the paint, but they should win the war in the paint. 47 to 41 points in the paint. The Knicks also out-rebound the Clippers on the season, so that should be to the Knicks' advantage. Both teams are about 12 second-chance points per game. The Clippers average 12 fast break points, where the Knicks are at 7.5, but the Knicks last game were able to get some steals and get out and run, which helped them out tremendously. The Clippers are led by Kawhi Leonard, 25.8 points per game. The Knicks led by Julius Randle at 22.2. Serge Ibaka leads the Clippers in rebounding at 6.9. So, they're not a heavy team inside, a strong team inside as far as rebounding the basketball. I'm pretty sure they do it with a team effort, right? Kawhi probably averages around 5 or 6. Paul George probably, around 5 or 6. Marcus Morris, 3, 4, maybe 5 rebounds. So they do it. It's a team, a collective effort in rebounding the basketball. Julius Randle leads the Knicks at 11. Kawhi Leonard leads the Clippers with 5.6 assists, while Julius Randle leads the Knicks at 6 assists. And you got Serge Ibaka, Mitchell Robinson, both leading their teams and rebounding. I feel like this is a game where Julius Randle can really put his name up there with some of the best power forwards in the league. If he can play well and the Knicks play well, right? The Knicks need to play well first and foremost, right? But if the Knicks play well and Julius Randle can play, put up his 22 and 11, against these guys, I think, people around the league will really start to look and say, yeah, maybe this guy is one of the top power forwards in the league. Because this is the first year he's putting up these kind of numbers. So I still believe people are looking and waiting to see if he's going to drop, if he's going to fall. I think this can be a statement game for Julius. I also think it could be a statement game for the New York Knicks. So I'm rooting for Julius Randle to have a really good game today. I thought he had a pretty good game against Kevin Durant. It's just the Knicks got blown out, so it didn't, it didn't say anything. If it was a close game, or if the Knicks would have won that game, then I think people would have been like, oh, okay. Yeah, we see what Julius Randle is doing. I mean, they see what he's doing now, and he's getting recognition. But I think he would have gotten a little bit more recognition if the Knicks would have beat the Brooklyn Nets while he played, faced off against Kevin Durant. I think if the Knicks can play well against Los Angeles today and Julius Randle can have a good game, he can start to really get his name put in those conversations. And I think it's good for his psyche as well to just say, you know what, I can compete against these guys. Go ahead, Josh, and then Andy.
So the thing with Julius Randle is I don't think he's going to fall off at all because really the Knicks don't really have anybody else that's been consistent. Julius Randle, this is his team. You know what I mean? So he has every opportunity, and he is basically doing everything that he needs to do in order to keep this team afloat. As far as the Clippers versus the Knicks matchup is concerned, to me, the Clippers are a better version of us in the sense where we both play slow paces. They don't score that many points they don't take as many attempts per game, but they're highly efficient. They play great defense, just like us. And they have two of the best half-court players in the NBA. We only have really one. But, if Julius Randle is considered that, right? So I think the Clippers are basically who we are aiming to be in the future. Their style of play, what they do on the floor, I think that's who we should pretty much model our team game after, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think that we are, kind of like if you want to say a little brother to them as far as the way that our team is constructed, right? Very, very similar, similar styles of play. They just have players that can do it better.
They're bottom of the league in pace.
Yeah, they just have players that can do it
Both of us
better.
are bottom of the league in pace. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Divine, what do you think, man?
I think the biggest key for me today is that it gives us a chance to win if Reggie Bullock is starting. I think him and Mitchell Robinson's defense today could play a major role in the Knicks winning that game today. I think Reggie Bullock, he got a better chance of slowing down, whether it's Kawhi, than Alex Burks. I believe that straight up. I think Reggie Bullock can slow him down a little bit, or at least try to contain him. You ain't going to stop him. But I think Mitchell Robinson got advantage on Serge Ibaka, unless Serge Ibaka starts shooting the three, unless he pulls Mitchell Robinson away from the basket, then that's a different story. But I think if they pound it down to Mitchell Robinson and let Reggie Bullock try to defend my man as good as he can, and I think sometimes we kind of underestimating the potential of R.J. Barrett. R.J. Barrett is almost a 20-point scorer in this league, and I think we got to start giving that man the due respect for what he really is putting out there on the floor. The man can score from every angle. He drives. His three ball is coming around. So he's not going to be just a wash today either. I think Paul George is going to have his hands full too because, R.J. Barrett, a young dude, but he can ball. So I just really think that. But to me, I think the big thing today, I'm looking for Reggie Bullock, if he's starting, to see what he could do to slow down Kawhi and see if Mitchell Robinson could take advantage of his height and, his athleticism down there in the paint tonight for me.
Yeah. Reggie Bullock is starting, and I'm going to bring over and show the two starting lineups, although it's a little bit out of order right now because Julius Randle is not going to be guarding Reggie Jackson. It'll be Elfrid Payton guarding Reggie Jackson. Most likely be Reggie Bullock facing off against Nicholas Batum. I'm sorry, R.J. Barrett facing off against Nicholas Batum maybe. And then you got Julius Randle and Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. R.J. Barrett probably going up against Paul George, Mitchell Robinson, and Serge Ibaka. I don't know why they got the lineups all mixed up like this from where I'm getting the lineups from, but, they got it all crazy, so it looks wild. It looks wild with the matchups. It looks crazy. But anyway, again, you would have Elfrid Payton and Reggie Jackson Either R.J. Barrett and Reggie Bullock are going against Nicholas Batum, but Reggie Bullock is probably going to guard either Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. Then, you know, R.J. Barrett against one of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Julius Randle would probably be facing off, depending on where Nicholas Batum is playing, he might face off against Nicholas Batum. He might have Nicholas Batum on him.
He's out.
Oh, Nicholas Batum is out. So see, this whole thing is off. You know what I mean? So let me just go ahead and look at the injury report. Nicholas Batum, yes, is day to day. He's questionable for today's game, so he's probably going to be out. Like you said, Patrick Beverley is out. Jay Scrubb is out. And for the Knicks, Reggie Bullock is available for today's game, so he will be in the starting lineup. Right? It'd be Elfrid Payton, R.J. Barrett, Reggie Bullock, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup for today. And I'll try to get those lineups, the matchups corrected as we move on and go on. But I think that I think it'll be a good game. We start getting into crunch time. Obviously, the Clippers are going to have the advantage, you know. And for the Knicks to pull this game out, I think someone's going to have to step up and have a monster game, in my opinion. You know, I'm pretty sure Emmanuel Quickley is now on a scouting report of every team in the league. You know, so he could have a monster. He could come out and play very well and have a monster game. I think it's going to need to come from somebody else. I don't know who, but it's going to need to come from somebody else. I think, you know, there's going to have to be an X factor. Who do you think can be an X factor in this game? I'm going to start with Andy, then I'm going to come to Prince because I haven't really heard from Prince today so far.
Yeah, you know, I think it has to be a team effort. I don't see any of our guys going like for 40 points versus the Clippers. So I'm guessing it has to be a team effort, like 6, 7, 8, 9 guys even, you know, with double-digit scoring. That would be perfect. You know, 2 guys with 20 and you know, the rest of the guys like 10, 12, and it's going to be, you know, almost 100 points there. And, you know, actually the same with them, right? You rarely see Kawhi or Paul George go for 40. They basically go to like 27, 28, 30, 32, and that's like, they're done then. They'd rather, you know, get their teammates, you know, in the game and stuff. So like Josh said, we are really 2 similar teams in kind of the pace-wise, and what the Knicks are trying to achieve is playing the style like the Clippers. So it's going to be an interesting game, like you said. I'm happy that they're not a fast-paced game, and you know, of course, they're going to have some, you know, couple of runs, right? But they are not a team that can get you like, you know, a 20-point run versus you. That, you know, they're going to get like 10, 12 because one of the pace, and the second thing is they don't have that kind of streaky, you know, shooters, right? Lou Williams can score in bunches, but it's not like they have like 6 guys, you know, that can go, you know, like really hard and just score the points. I'm kind of happy that Beverly's not playing because, you know, we touched on it last show that, you know, he might try to bully and mentally abuse IQ. So I'm happy he's not going to get the rookie treatment in one of his, you know, first games in the season. So so that's kind of good. Right. Next time, you know, when we're going to win this game, next time, you know, IQ, they're going to tell him, okay, this time Beverly's playing. Don't let him get into your head, right? So you know, but I think it can be a really close game, and it's not like, you know, we are going to, you know, be up by 20. I don't see that happening as well, but I think it could be a really close game because neither of these teams can score like go on scoring runs like 20-0 or something like that.
Right. Agreed. Prince, it's on you, man. What do you think about this game? Oh, let me get you unmuted there. My fault. There you go.
You Gucci, you know what it is, man. Hey, shout out to chat. Shout out to panel, man. Definitely good to you know, get back out there in between the white lines today. Like Josh alluded, my boy Andy just kind of put it in the chat too. You know, we kind of looking at a mirror image of us, but somebody who does it better and got more experience. So I know even if we lose this game, I could see Tom Thibodeau using this as a very good teaching moment, because again, he can point out players and instances in the game that he can directly, equate to RJ when he see Kawhi does this, or Kevin,
It's
hey,
true.
when you see how, when you see how Paul George gets into the post like this, but he creates separation. So again, it's going to be a lot of good teaching points. This is one of those where you can basically make a whole camp video out of this game. Hopefully not for the bad reasons, but for the good reasons, because again, they are a team that has been coached by good coaches. You got two top veterans on that team. So again, they have a lot of good practices that we can pick up from them going forward as a team. Don't really see us truly winning this game unless Kawhi and Paul George just have horrible nights tonight, and with Knicks defense, sometime that happens. So if that's the case, I really do pray that we can just out hustle them, because I think that's what the game will really come down to. 50-50 balls, rebounds, because like Andy said, they're not a team that's going to blow us out the water as far as shooting threes and stuff like that. They are good at shooting threes, but they're not a team that jacks it up. They're going to be methodical and get good shots. So again, we have to score. I think somebody said that when we talked yesterday in the shoot around, is that we can't go with those possessions where they get a bucket, we get we go down there and brick, they get another bucket. We can't have those type of stints. We have to kind of, go back and forth with them, if you may say. But again, Sam, we may 70-30 we pull this game out. I mean, 70-30 us on a 30% chance that we pull this game out tonight.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're a high, they shoot a high percentage from the field, which, because they play a slow, methodical type of game, allows them to shoot a high percentage from the field and a high percentage from three. That's an area that's really scaring me right now, because they shoot so high from the 3-point line, 41%. And, we have we sometimes let teams get that open three. You know what I mean? And if we're going to do that, we're going to be in trouble. We consistently let them shoot that open 3-point shot. It can be a pretty long night for us. I think I got the lineups right. So let me see if I can pull this over once again. There we go. All right, so we should have Elfrid Payton facing off against Reggie Jackson, probably R.J. Barrett and Paul George, maybe Reggie Bullock and Kawhi Leonard. I do think Julius Randle is going to switch off on one of those guys every once in a while. And then between Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle, they'll go against Serge Ibaka and Patterson, depending on who's doing what. I think you can switch off with those guys. Serge Ibaka is a little bit taller than Patterson, but I think you can switch those guys. They can be interchangeable. Obviously, with the way that the Knicks play, guys will be moving all around the court anyway, right? So you'll see, multiple people guard Kawhi, guard Paul George. The one area for me, I do think that Tom Thibodeau shortens that lineup just a little bit today. Right? I think that he decides to, because you have Patrick Beverley out, but you got some guys on the bench. You got some guys on the bench for the Clippers that can really play basketball, right? You got Marcus Morris on the bench. You got Lou Williams out there on the bench. Patrick Beverley's not playing. You got some guys that can play. And I think if you go too deep in the lineup, your second unit may not be able to match up with their second unit if you start to if you go too deep. I wouldn't be surprised, of course, you're going to see quickly Austin Rivers, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel. He might only go 9. Obi Toppin. Okay, so tonight, you might see Kevin Knox get no burn tonight. Maybe, right? Because you got Alec Burks moving back into the second unit, right? So I don't know if Tom Thibodeau's going 11 deep. Because you look at the second unit tonight with Reggie Bullock being back in the starting lineup, right? You can go quickly. Austin Rivers, Alec Burks, Obi Toppin, Nerlens Noel. Where's Kevin Knox fitting in there?
I think it depends on who's hot. I mean, whoever comes in the game and becomes effective. Because Austin Rivers can play Austin Rivers, and he goes out and lays an egg, and then Austin Rivers probably won't play for the rest of the game. So it really just depends on who's hot at the time. And lately, Kevin Knox hasn't been hot, so his minutes has gone down. But it really just depends on that, to be honest.
I agree with you there. I think
that Obi might.
You say
I think Obi gonna be that X factor tonight. I think he might be that X factor. Obi, we got a lot of 3-point shooting in that second lineup. Quickly, Burks, Rivers. I think our 3-point shooting gonna come through us for that second unit. Because I just think that we got cats to pull the trigger with them three. But I think Obi might be that X factor tonight to me anyway. I think he might be the X factor tonight.
He could be.
At least 10 point, 12 point, get a double digit scoring at least. You know what I mean? Maybe 12 or 14 points. He can play a major role without Batum there. You know what I mean? So and Patrick Beverley, our second unit should get a lot of good looks tonight without Patrick Beverley and Nicholas Batum in that game tonight, because them both defense ball players. So I would like to see if we could pull that
off. The one thing that I'm just being devil's advocate. I pray that it's it's one of those games where Tom, I can let my hair down type of thing where, not saying you want to get his game up, but to say okay, I can go 11-12 and let, not 11-12, I say 11, let Knox and Obi get extended minutes tonight. Because again, if you really look, like Josh said, if you get into this game and the first unit go out there and put up a goose egg, you can't let them guys stay out there all night and just get blasted 120-80 like that. That ain't good basketball time. So again, if that's the type of game we see early and there's no fight in that first unit for whatever reason, you got to go extended into that bench. And I'm not saying play ESJ and Frank and all them cats, but the two guys who are, or the one guy I'm going to say, not even going to say two, the one guy who's on the outside, outside looking in, you got to let Kevin play in the game like this. Because again, same thing what we said about RJ and Julius playing against top tier talent. If you ever want that kid to be somebody that we can depend on, you have to throw him out there in the fire. And again, I understand bad basketball isn't conducive to winning, but he has to work through the same problems that we let RJ and IQ and everybody else work through. And that's going to be my argument here soon in the next 5 to 10 games. If we don't see Kevin getting some more minutes, is now we starting to do this thing where we just, burying guys, and that's not going to help us out in the future, with all these draft picks and everything else.
But see, I don't believe that coaches bury guys. I believe guys bury themselves. You know what I'm saying?
To a degree, but do you really believe that his minutes deserve to be the dude went from 32, 27, 19, 12, 9. If a player's not giving you what the coach is asking you to give, then that's what happens. And I think that's that's just as much part of development as being on the floor. And my thing is, and I guess
maybe even a bigger part of development, in my opinion, because if you keep a player out there when they're not doing the things that you are asking them to do, if they're not, and if that is just on the defensive side, and you're trying to establish a culture of playing defense, and he's been playing decent defense, but he doesn't put himself in the mix. He doesn't. I mean, he'll be out there for 24 minutes and get 2 rebounds, right? You got to put yourself in the mix and make yourself part of the game. And if the coach is asking you to do that and you're not doing that, it's only hurting that player's development by keeping him out there on the floor, because he's not learning that if I don't do it, my minutes are going to be taken away. And to me, that is the best teacher in the game.
And I believe you, accountability is everything, Sim, especially that's one thing my mom prided, us on, and raising 3 boys was accountability. So that's one thing I'm never going to shy away from when it comes to, like I said, making an excuse for Kevin or something like that, is him not being accountable. But my thing is the same difference is, even though the same thing we said with RJ, when RJ was shooting bad, it wasn't okay. Like me and Uncle Fulio was like, no, sit him down, let him, come off the bench and understand when to pick those spots. Where Tom was like, no, he's just gonna learn it in the game, and he's just gonna have to learn how to pick his spots because we need RJ for XYZ. Respectable, understood.
Right.
So my thing is, when we say that is obviously we're not in the huddle. We're not in the practices. We truly don't know outside of what we see on the court. So to say, for us to say, okay, he's not doing something at times, Tom won't even do that obviously could be very true. But then on the flip side of that is, how do you make an argument for, like I said, the stuff that RJ went through, the stuff that Quickly went through? So my thing is, either Knox is already on the outside looking in, and he already had, like I said, 1-2 strikes against him type of thing, and it's like, all right, bro, we're gonna let you come out here, and again, if you ain't doing the things we need to do, then you're washed now. And that's how I kind of feel like
because
maybe they doing with him now.
But there's two things, though. There's two things. RJ was getting 7 rebounds a game.
Right.
He's playing good defense. He was still facilitating in areas. Kevin Knox was doing none of that. If he was hot from 3, I mean, he was playing some decent defense, decent defense. But if he was hot from 3, then he was hot. If he wasn't hot from 3, he played okay defense, but he wasn't doing anything else. He wasn't rebounding the basketball. He wasn't really getting any kind of steals, or he wasn't doing much of anything else. And Tom Thibodeau he's always said, you don't have to shoot well to play well, because there's so many other things that you can do in a basketball game. And I don't think Knox is going out there doing the things that Tom Thibodeau's asking him to do. So, and I'm a big Knox fan. I think that he could be a really good basketball player. But if he's not doing what the coach is asking him to do, then the coach got to sit him down. And his minutes have been dwindling, and I think today could be a day that you don't see him play. I think today can really be a day that you don't see him play, or play very, very little, because now you got a 10-man rotation of guys that are going to go out there and produce and be active and be in the game. If Kevin Knox does get a chance to get on the floor today, he better get out there and be ready to ball. Because if not, he's going to get the quick hook and he might not come back in the game.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like when we say, like when we put those parameters on Knox, because again, like you said, Sim, I remember in stretches where like a couple games, like he had 7-8 points, but again, he had good defensive stints. So, and a lot of those games was those games where he had 12 minutes, 15 minutes. And I know you alluded to that. It's like, okay, we a baby spoon feed him. We'll give him 17. We'll just see how he do with that in those span of those minutes, where now it's like you said, it's either you hurt or you just, like you said, you not getting the job done. And again, if that's what it is, I have to be accountable with my, with my synopsis about Knox as well, is that, again, bro, you're not getting it done. But like I said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I don't think that it's fair that sometimes, like I said, we make excuses, or we let RJ get away with certain things. And then, like you said, now it's Knox don't do nothing, where again, both of those games are kind of different games. RJ is a scorer who's going to will his way to the basket. Kevin Knox is more of a finesse guy. So again, you're talking about two different games. RJ is a 6'6" guard who it's easier for him to sneak in and get rebounds amongst the trees than it is for a 6'10" cat coming from the three-point line crashing to get a rebound. I think that I believe that's easier. Yeah, maybe you got an advantage being 6'10", but if knowing, RJ, he's a crafty guy. Most guards they're crafty. Steph Curry, he averages like 4 or 5 rebounds. So again, in that, I know I'm probably, adding fuel to the fire against my argument about Knox. But I also believe that, again, I think it's schemed as well. I don't believe it's just he just doesn't want to rebound.
I mean, I can see that. I can see that on the offensive side, but what about the defensive side? On the offensive side, I can see stuff that. Yeah, I mean, I can see on offense why, if he's out at the 3-point line, he's not going to go in and get offensive rebounds. But on the defensive side, he can hit the paint and go grab a couple of defensive rebounds.
And that's the thing. I see that. But again, when you got Mitch down there, you got how many rebounders do you need to get a rebound? Like I said, when you got Mitch, you got Elf, you got Elf, you got RJ, and you got Julius in most cases.
Yeah, but he's out there with him and Obi. Him,
Now, okay,
Obi,
now,
and
that,
Noel.
now that's different.
Right?
Yeah, now that's it. When it's like you said, when it's the second unit guys, then yeah, you have to rebound more. You have to. But again, like I said,
problem. I think that's his problem is his rebounding. Knox is 6'9", 6'10", and athletic.
well, how
I'm the
often
biggest
do
Knox fan in the
Knox get
world.
beat to rebounds? That's my thing. Do we see him where it's like a guy? He like you said, he hit a guy. And a guy just out rebounds him for a rebound. That's the stuff where I can understand you holding his feet to the fire for that. Where it's like, bro, you were still like a couple weeks ago, when we was playing Cleveland, and you had Elford, RJ, and Julius standing right there. So that's what I'm saying. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You got 3 starters who let a guy sneak in between them to get a rebound. But then again,
that's not consistent. Julius is averaging 12.
That's my thing about Knox. How often do we see him get beat for rebounds? Now again, like somebody said, your effort to get a rebound. Okay, now that's one thing you can gauge. I can understand you gauging that. Like, all right, Knox, you didn't even try to get that. But my thing is, again, if I'm all the way across the court, and again, I got 3 guys in the box, in the paint, and one of them grab a rebound, how is that a conviction against me? Because I didn't run in there and then jump all over them and take a rebound.
I don't think it is on that particular, but it's not always like that, though. It's not, Knox don't play with Julius Randle and them all the time. So to me, when Knox is in the game, you got Obi Toppin and Nolan Wells. No matter what, if Knox man don't shoot the ball, soon as that ball go up, he's supposed to break to that rim. Think about Knox in his rookie year. He had 4 or 5 rebounds a game. He should be able to do that now. And that's the 3rd year. I just think that his energy. I think Tom Thibodeau, listen, man, you 6'9", 6'10". When that ball leaves somebody's hand, you need to be breaking towards that rim. That's any player. I just think that. I think Knox. I don't think we beating him up. I just think that Knox right now need to get out there and go in that. He need to start getting physical. He's not physical enough. I think that's Knox's problem. He's not physical, and he need to start getting physical. If not, Knox going to find himself right where he at, bro. And I thought Knox had the best year out of all the Knicks this year. And I'm a big Knox fan, but the truth is the truth. Knox got to start getting physical, or he's not going to be out there, man, because you know what? That's the type of game we play. And that's the type of game we play a physical game now. Not like what's the name? Fizdale team. We was running. Knicks play physical basketball now. Knox got to get physical. That's all. And
this is why I say this is technically a good problem for the Knicks to have. Right now, everybody's healthy. Mm-hmm. Everybody's healthy. There's no reason for Thibodeau to try to restrict minutes from. Limit his lineups because everybody's healthy. Burks is back. Bullock's back. Austin Rivers is back. You know what I mean? So. This is a good problem for the Knicks to have that they haven't had this season, to be honest. There's always been guys that have been out, and Thibodeau had to pretty much work with what he had. Now he got everybody to his disposal. Let's see what he's going to do with the guys that are on the bench and the minutes and everything like that, because that's going to tell a true story of how Thibodeau feels about all these guys.
It is. And look, I still don't think he's going to go more than 10 deep. I think most basketball teams don't go that deep into their bench unless they really have to, it's a blowout or this or that. It's just too hard to get so many guys in the game.
It is.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Without messing up the flow of the game.
And I think that's the biggest. I think, like you said, and I don't think it's a mark against him. I just, like you said, Sam, I believe for whatever it is that Tom Thibodeau wants, like you said, this year, and like you said, Knox ain't either got it or at this time, he would feel more comfortable with Bullocks. Because, again, somebody put Bullocks as like number 2 in defensive rating as a player in the chat, and I did not know that. So, again, like we had said before, Sam, and you alluded to, that Bullocks, it brings a different type of tenacity to our defense. And, so, again, Tom understands. He knows what he knows. Until when I hear him coming out and talking about Knox like he does Frank, then I'm scared. Once he starts answering them questions like, well, Knox will play, conditional minutes or whatever he said, then I'm like, all right, it's about time for me to get me a new Knox jersey in a different color. But again, I think, I think like you said, Sam, right now, I think he feels more comfortable with Austin and Bullocks and guys like that, because for whatever reason they must give him a better chance, to win or whatever with those units.
Right. And Knox, he might find himself, we might have a G League champion on our hands, man. He might find himself down in the G League with DSJ, if he's not careful.
He is backing them up. Not getting the minutes. As soon as he come in the game, he just got to produce. That's all.
He's got to produce.
And he ain't getting the opportunity. He's the backup small forward. So when he come in that game, Knox, handle your business. Then that way Thibodeau will keep you in. If you don't handle your business, you ain't playing.
To me, I just feel like for Knox, and I would put Knox in the starting lineup. I think he could benefit by playing with the Randalls and RJ. Like have Knox at the 3 and have RJ at the 2. I think he can benefit by playing with those guys. I think his gameplay will go up playing with those guys instead of with the bench guys. I know it was different in the beginning of the season. They was like, oh, Knox only decides to show up when he's playing with Quickly. But now I think it's different. Now I think if you get those group of players around him in that starting lineup, he can flourish in that. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think with Reggie Bullock being back, and as long as Reggie Bullock stays back, his neck I think is day to day. It's not the same injury that he had before. Remember, he was out last season for a while because he had neck operation or something like that. They say that it's not related. Hopefully it's not related. And if Reggie Bullock is back, and he's back, and he's healthy, and he's going to be here for a while, I don't see anybody cracking that lineup above Reggie Bullock. Even though, his shooting is on and off and, because of what he does defensively, I just don't see anybody cracking that lineup right now. And Thibodeau is comfortable with him, you know? Yep. Andy, I think you were going to say something. I want to come to Chop.
I wanted to add that, Thibs is one of those coaches that he likes continuously playing the same guys in the same rotations, basically, unless he notices that this isn't working. But he needs several minutes, with the same rotation, same guys on the court. That's why we see the same lineup basically from the beginning of the season, and only injuries, can change that. And that's also, like I said before, if any of those guys want to crack the rotation, it's basically, they need to have an injury to change that. It's not like, of course they can work it out in practice, right? But they would have to blow out someone from the second unit to get into the rotation. That's why, we don't see the Franks, we don't see the DSJs. Unless, there's going to be an injury or two and they get an opportunity, they have to grab it. If not, they're going to be out of the rotation again. And Tibbs is like those, old school conservative coaches. He knows what's his, and he's gonna roll with it till it's really bad. And till this point, it actually kind of works out. So I don't see any changes soon.
Yeah, I agree. Chop, I'm coming to you, man. What do you think?
I missed the conversation. I just jumped back in the car. What was the initial question? Or
we were talking about Knox and if he's getting a short hook today.
As far as minutes?
Yep, as far as minutes. Carl, I'll be with you in a second.
And being that Reggie Bullock is back, obviously he's going to be starting, right?
Yeah, Reggie Bullock is starting, yep.
And like Andy said, and I guess what I keep calling him Mo, what Josh said, because he looked like Mo, but I'm sorry. I thought y'all was brothers. I'm sorry. But no, for real. What Andy said also as well, Knox to crack that rotation, I guess show and prove, but is he going to get the minutes? Like you were saying, I guess earlier before I left the whip, right? So is who's going to show and prove tonight? This is actually a tough matchup because they're actually one of the best teams in the West, right? So, I mean, they probably a little short-handed, right? You said what, Batum is out.
Batum and Patrick Beverly. Yeah.
Okay. Because that would have been a great matchup, Batum and Kevin Knox, right? But
yeah, too lightweight.
Yeah. Oh, two Twizzler sticks. All right, but I don't know. And the question before I had left the whip earlier too. Who's gonna stand out? Who's gonna come out in this game?
Right.
We already saw what Quickly done. RJ Barrett is developing, looking better and better every game. Randall, get that Broad Street Bully game on, Broad Street Bully. But then Knox got to step it up tonight. And it might be Obi. We don't know.
That's what I'm saying. We need Obi. We need Obi to have a game. We haven't had one from Obi yet. We need Obi to really have a game tonight, man. Let me get to a caller. Caller, you live. What's popping, caller? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Wanted to talk about Knox. One thing that I think a lot of people are missing is RJ Barrett is playing the three. So if you look at how Tom Thibodeau is playing, he's playing more of rotation. So if you notice, one of the reasons why Knox is getting less minutes is because Barrett is always on the floor. Even when he saw RJ Barrett out, within 8 minutes, he's bringing him back in the game.
Right. Do me a favor. You got to echo. You got to echo in the back, man. I don't know if you have, something, a radio or something on in the back, but you got to echo.
Hold on.
But yeah, I mean, as far as RJ Barrett, I mean, look, you're going to keep your best players on the floor. That's what Tom Thibodeau does. If you look at most teams, most of the time they have a starter on the floor with their bench. You know what I'm saying? They don't go with just straight, I'm going just with straight subs. Most of the time there's a starter on the floor. Or, they might go with straight subs for a couple of minutes, but then they bring back one starter. Then they bring back another starter, and they kind of flow everybody back into the game instead of just, hijacking the game and taking out all five, unless that five is just terrible. You know what I'm saying?
Waiting right at the scorer's table. Right at the scorer's table, sitting right there waiting.
Exactly. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Then you got guys looking over to the bench. I mean, when Quickly first started, when the season first started, I used to see him all the time just look over to the scorer's table. Look over to the scorer's table like, is Elfrid coming up yet? Is Peyton coming up yet? Is Elf coming up yet? and then when he see Elf come up, I see him like, which is okay though. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to be out there on the floor. But now he knows, and this is the good thing, what I do like about Tom Thibodeau. And, I know that when someone is playing at a certain level, you want to keep him out there on the floor. But when guys start to understand, this is when I'm in the game, this is when I'm out the game, right? There's no longer they're looking over to the bench because they know 5 minutes, yeah, I'm about to come out. I'm getting ready to come out. Coach is about to get me. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm getting ready to go in. You start getting ready, right? You start getting your sneakers tied, tightening up your knee brace, whatever you got to do, you start getting ready because Coach is getting ready to call you soon enough. You know what I'm saying? And so you're ready to go. Now, of course, the coach can change it up a little bit when they have to, but guys start to understand so that they don't have to look over their shoulder because they know, Coach is going to come get me with this time left, so I'm ready to come off the floor. Unless I'm really, really playing well, then he's going to keep me out there. And I think that's a big part of what Tom Thibodeau is doing, while we're hollering about lineups and this and that, it's just developing that consistency, so guys know and understand. Caller, are you back?
Yeah, my bad, man. My bad.
Yeah,
go
ahead.
Still an echo?
Nah, that's better.
All right, cool. So basically what I was saying is, I don't think it's as much of an indictment on Knox as much as it is the faith that Thibodeau has in RJ Barrett. It's unfortunate because I actually think Knox has improved, and we've all seen it. His three-point percentage has improved. If any Knicks fans who've been watching Knox since he's came in the league, his defense is clearly has gotten better. It's just I think a lot of it has to do with RJ Barrett playing at the three and Thibodeau being so stringent with his rotations and the way he plays his rotations. I'm a proponent of moving RJ Barrett to the two and starting Knox. Because I feel like I feel a lot of his issues is confidence related. And I feel like if he was able to start, we would see a lot more. And I hear people talking about, he's a spot up, three-point shooter. That's foolishness, man. Slim, you did the breakdown. I watched the video. You did the breakdown. You showed him running pick and roll, giving lobs to Mitch. We all, in his first season, we was tired of the floaters. We were saying, yo, come on, can you do anything else? He got the floater. He got the three-point shot. He can play make a little bit. I know a lot of those things aren't polished. They're not polished yet, But with minutes and confidence, I think those things can happen. And another problem I have is that, people is looking at Kevin Knox like, Kevin Knox is a lottery pick, B. He's a lottery pick. He should be getting a lot of, and that's where I agree with Josh. I know that R.J. Barrett was the third pick, but Knox was a lottery pick as well, and he should be given some preferential treatment as far as getting him the minutes and at least trying to develop him. I just feel like what's going on, this isn't conducive to his development. I know, Sam, I heard you say, you have to show it when you're on the floor, and people saying, oh, R.J. Barrett is getting this many. R.J. Barrett wouldn't be getting that many rebounds if he was playing 8 to 12 minutes. Trust
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously he wouldn't.
How is he going to get these rebounds that everybody is talking about when he's only playing 8 to 12 minutes? And I see him grabbing rebounds. I'm sure he's averaging at least 2 rebounds.
He averages he averages 2 rebounds. But the thing is, when you get in 18 minutes, he averages 2 rebounds in 18 minutes. That means in 36 minutes, he's averaging 4 rebounds per game. And at a 6'10" forward, you should be averaging more than that, in my opinion.
No doubt, definitely. Well, you know what? And that's definitely something you have to work on. And maybe that's the reason why, Tibbs favors R.J. Barrett over him, because R.J. Barrett grabs more rebounds. But, I just feel like, I would hate to see the Knicks trade Knox, because I actually feel like the kid can be really good. And I would like to see him at least get his first set of year, 3 years before his contract is up. I would like to see him play that rookie contract out and at least get minutes within that time.
Now, listen, I agree. I think that Knox has, and I still believe that eventually it's going to come around for Kevin Knox. You know what I'm saying? He's going to grow up, he's going to mature, and he's going to understand what he needs to do. And so I really don't. Obviously, if a big trade came about, anyone's going to be subject to being moved. But I still believe in the kid. I just want, I just believe that there's probably some things that Tom Thibodeau is asking of him that Tom Thibodeau's not seeing. That's why he's getting a short hook. But I still believe in Kevin Knox. I still have all the belief in the world because I think he's super talented. I really think he has all the skills to be a good NBA player. I really do.
And also, I think a lot of times when we bring in players like Rivers, when we bring in players like Burke, those guys have to get minutes. These are not young players, players that you can just stick on a bench. And when you bring these guys in, they have to get minutes. And what happens is, these guys is forcing Tom Thibodeau to play more of a smaller lineup. Like our backcourts are small now, and
they are. Yeah.
To some degree, that's pushing Kevin Knox out as well, because those guys Burke's got to get minutes, Rivers have to get minutes, So I don't know, but my thing is as well, I also feel like we don't need to rush our timeline. I feel like if you really look at this team, and if we're talking about R.J. Barrett is the leader of this team and, all of these things, R.J. Barrett has at least 3 or 4 more years before he's really going to reach his prime. I would like the team to develop, unless they're going to trade R.J. If they're not going to trade R.J., there's no need to bring in players like, in my opinion, a Bradley Beal, who's ahead of the timeline, who really doesn't necessarily want to wait. And I don't think he's going to consider the Knicks, because I don't think he want to wait 3 or 4 years unless the Knicks is going to try and move the process ahead quicker by getting rid of RJ, and and that is something I don't agree with. I've watched the Knicks do that for years.
Right. We're not doing that with RJ.
I'm not going to hold up the show, but those are just some of my opinions.
Okay.
I'll call back another time and I'll listen to the panel.
No doubt. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
No doubt.
Be safe out
Josh
there.
From Brooklyn.
Josh from Brooklyn. All right. Peace to you, bro.
It's another me, Andy.
Yeah, I don't know how much Josh is paying these callers, to agree with him. But
a quick update.
A good caller.
Yeah, good call. One quick update. Nerlens Noel is out for today's game against the Clippers, which means
Kevin Knox is
Kevin Knox is still in that rotation. Sorry, so I see some people saying, it's time for Obi and Taj Gibson. I don't think so. I think that Tibbs is going to go with Knox, and if Knox is not producing, maybe you see Taj Gibson if Knox isn't producing, right? But again, listen, it just so happens that when we start to have questions about the lineup, somebody
15 minutes before the game.
Right. Somebody ends up going out with an injury, and it just so happens that Kevin Knox and Obi Toppin can play the 4 and the 5 if they have to. Right? Magically, it happens that way.
I'm telling you, Tibbs was like counting the guys that dress and like, oh damn, I gotta put a banana peel somewhere here. Okay, let's go, bam.
Right. Let me say something. So like when Bullock was out, and the first person off the bench, even when guys are fully healthy, the first person off the bench is always going to be Alec Burks, right? And now when Bullock went down, Burks replaced him in the rotation. I think when it comes to the 2 and the 3 position, knock on wood, God forbid, RJ Barrett, let's say he gets hurt, right? Burks is coming in that starting lineup, and it's going to be a 3-guard rotation. It's going to be Burks, Bullock, and Payton. I think it's not going to be a RJ for Knox. Knox coming in the starting lineup. I think no matter what, it's going to be Burks coming in to replace RJ or Bullock or whoever it is. You know what I'm saying? So Burks is going to be that guy coming off the bench, that number 1 guy, no matter what, in my opinion. That's just the way I see Thibodeau doing it.
Right. And that's the way it was before he got hurt, right? Yep. Burks was the guy off the bench, and I agree it's probably going to be that way. Couple of super chats I want to get to before we get to the game. City for Real said, if there's anything I learned from this season, is if you produce and play well, you're going to get minutes. When Knox is playing well, he stays in the game. When he's not playing well, he's out the game. And I think we have seen that from everybody. And then Justice Smith, thank you for the super chat. Going back to the whole DSJ conversation, he said, no need to value the KP trade with Dennis Smith Jr. because we have cap space to sign Mook, flipped him for the Clippers pick, which is now quickly plus a Mavs first rounder this year. So, yeah, that trade is still, you're still figuring out what comes about from that trade. The only thing that we do know is that, KP is, struggling a little bit, and Dallas Mavericks fans are a little bit upset with him. And the Mavericks aren't playing well, so. But we got about 10 minutes before game time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to let you guys go so you can get to the game. We will be back after the game. I don't know, 3:30, 3:15, something like that. We'll be back, talk about the game for about an hour or so, and then let you get on with the rest of your day. I appreciate you guys for jumping in. A lot of things to watch for tonight, man. Thought Kevin Knox might be out the rotation, but Nerlens Noel magically goes down with a sore groin. So Kevin Knox is going to be back in the rotation for sure. You know what I'm saying? We'll see if Julius Randle and RJ Barrett can play up the par and play up the speed with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. See what happens.
Sam, I just want to point out something, and I posted it inside the Zoom chat that we got going on here. But now that Burks is back on the bench, I think that's going to be better for him, because when he was in the starting lineup, he wasn't doing as well. So I think him coming back off the bench is going to be better for the team, and that can be that extra contribution to scoring that we might need to pull this game out.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%. 100%. That could be that extra scoring boost. Because remember, coming off the bench, he was giving us 20. It was just 2 games, giving us 20. When he came back, his first game back, all right, he gave us 11. He was a little shaky, just came back, and then he was inserted in the starting lineup, and it didn't look good. I think this is going to look more natural with Bullock in the starting lineup and Burks coming off the bench. Now, him and Quickly can be a scary scoring duo coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm. Because
so.
you gotta put emphasis on both of those 2 guys shooting the ball, especially from 3. And then, like you said, with Knox and Obi playing in that second unit, like you said, maybe and like we all alluded to in the pregame. Last night. Well, shoot around. Sorry, man, we got too many shows. So, in the shoot around is that second unit, even though they have a very prolific second unit over there in the Clippers, our youth may play into our, good favors because, again, if Burks can add what he does and then quickly can come out smoking, it will give Knox those open looks. So, again, if he knocks them down today, it will definitely help our team out. So, look forward to see how this works out.
All right, let's get some quick predictions. Divine, I'm going to start with you, man.
I think despite Moot Moore's revenge game, first one to 100 wins tonight. I'm thinking Obi Toppin and Kevin Knox gonna have a good game today. We're gonna get this W. We getting this W like I've been predicting the last 2 weeks. We're gonna get that W tonight, bro.
Hey, Knox, I need you to do something, man, because your stock is down to 6 cents, bro. Come on, man. Let's do something. Let's do something. Need something, Andy.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be a close game. If our bench is going to outscore their bench, I think we can get a W.
Yeah.
All right. Prince?
First team to 100, I'm a firm believer in that too. So I think let's call it 108, 95. Knicks pull it out. You know what I'm saying? Knicks pull it out. Prayerfully, Paul George and them, they come in, shoot the ball terribly because they're going to take the Knicks lightly, think that we their little brother, but we ain't nobody little brother. I ain't scared no more.
That's right.
My boy, Day said, we ain't no more. So we pull this one out, like you said, and then we have a good post game tonight. But again, I do believe second unit will help us win this game. If we don't get that spark from that second unit, guys, we gonna be sad. We'll be sad.
All right. Josh?
Well, y'all already know the basketball gods don't like me. Every time I predict the Knicks to win, they lose, and every time I predict the Knicks to lose, they win. So I'm going to predict them to lose today. I say the score is going to be 103-95 Clippers, and I think the game will be close until the fourth quarter. Well, I think the experience and the greatness of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard pull this game out for the Clippers. 103-95 LA.
All right, Chop.
I want to go what Devon said and Prince. We might pull it out. No, we're gonna pull it out, and it's gonna be a good battle. What was your prediction again, Devon? What you said, 1-0?
I just went first one to 100. That's how it works with the Knicks. First one to 100, win that game tonight. I don't know what the score may be, but whoever get to 100, win that game tonight.
Oh, so that was Prince. He said 1 something.
I said 10. What I say? 107, 95, or and Josh said 103, 95 to.
The other way. All right, keeping it close. So we don't. I'm glad Kev ain't coming here because Andy said when Kev predicts something. Okay, so.
Yeah, I hope IQ spoke with Damian Lillard on the phone and he can nail 2 threes like he did with Chicago. I don't know if you guys saw it, and get us a W.
Man,
what was that? The logo Lillard. They call him logo Lillard. Oh
yeah.
Okay,
I think
to go watch that.
I think Austin Rivers is going to have a good game today playing against the Clippers. He's going to maybe have a little bit of extra energy going against the Clippers, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Clippers pull it out. Like Josh said, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, I think they pull it out. But I think it'll be a close game.
If we keep them stars under 40, Sim, you know what it is. If we keep them stars under 40 together,
they playing on 10 o'clock body time today, right? Because the LA is 3 hours different.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
What Paul George said, man. Well, Christmas just got done, and you know what I'm saying, and all of this stuff. So yeah, that's why I played so bad.
I'm sure they've been on the East Coast for a little while.
Yeah, they ready to get home.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
we
out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Girl. The game starts in about 4 minutes. Yes, all right, so we'll let you go ahead and get your chips, beer, whatever you got to get, and we're out of here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, catch you after the game. Be peaceful, spread love, ladies and gentlemen. We're out of here.